Yo, what's good everyone? This is a quick guide showing you how to find and defeat all 10 of the local legends in Natlan. I've made this as short as I could with timestamps if you need them. For the name card there are 30 achievements, 3 for each of the 10 local legends. You get 1 for beating them and then 2 more for beating them with conditions which we'll go through. Before we get started, you need to know that you can only get 1 achievement at a time. For example, if there's an achievement for beating an enemy without getting hit, you need to beat it first to get the initial achievement, then beat it the next time without getting hit. You can't just get them both in one run. I don't like that they made it that way to be honest, but it is what it is. Before going through these individually, let's look at some tips you can use across the board. There is a cheese strat for these where you can join someone in co-op with a lower world level. This way the enemies take more damage and deal less. For those that want the name card as quick and easy as possible, this is probably the way for you. If you want to do it in your own world, you can lower your world level if you're struggling. And if you do lower it, you can just put it back up the next day. I've kept mine at level 9 just to show you it is doable with these tips. Even easier if you choose to go down to level 8. Just remember to spend your resin before lowering it because the higher world level means better drops. The next tip is you can use food and potions. I understand some people like a challenge, but if you're struggling and just want the achievements, definitely use some. Just in case you're not familiar with how food and potions work, there are 4 groups. Offensive, which buff attack and crit stats. Defensive, which buff HP, defense, healing, and shield strength. Elemental, which obviously buff your elemental damage or elemental resistance. And stamina, which reduce stamina consumption. You can have one of each at the same time, so if you use either of Nouvelette, Linny, Deluxe, or Chi-Chi's specialty dishes, you get 20% crit rate and 20% crit damage for the party. That's your offensive buff. For the elemental buff, you'd use an elemental potion for whichever element you want to buff the most. Nouvelette, for example, would take the hydro potion. Some characters scale off defensive stats too, so sticking with Nouvelette, you can buff his HP with food like Farina or Dia's specialty dishes. That's your defensive buff, and you can even use stamina foods to reduce stamina consumption as well if you find you're running out. Also, all 5 stars here are C0. I'm not a whale, so don't worry, this is about strategy rather than DPS. There are no timers, so it doesn't matter. We'll just be slower than the whales. For the Fatui trio, you get 1 achievement for beating them, another for beating them while taking the pyro guy out first, and another if you beat them within 10 seconds of each other. They do hit hard, so I recommend using a strong shield. Zhongli's good because he can use his burst for petrification. I gave him Favonius Lance too, so that he can give particles to the others, but also so he can spam his burst more. I know you wouldn't do that in content like the Abyss, but it's useful here where there's no timer. Animo units for crowd control and shield breaking are king. Definitely bring 1 of Venti, Sucrose or Kazuha. Some of you might be tempted to choose Xiangling, but I'd advise Bennett for comfort. For the last slot, I recommend a hydro character like Child, Ayato or Nouvelette. As a side note, when you beat each one of them, they have a special effect. The pyro guy buffs the others, the cryo guy leaves a field that deals damage on tick, and the electro guy does a big electro explosion. Be careful of those. So for the achievement where you need to beat the pyro guy first, literally just beat the pyro guy first, then the others. The achievement where you need to beat them within 10 seconds of each other though is more difficult. To be honest, this one was the hardest of the bunch for me. World level 9 was a struggle, so it might be worth dropping your world level as I mentioned earlier. Grouping them was one of the most awkward things about this achievement, so I'll tell you how to do it. The cryo and electro guys are melee, so they're gonna follow you, but the pyro guy's ranged. He likes to keep his distance, so if you're near him for too long, he's gonna jump backwards. To get them grouped, choose somewhere you want them all to go. Stand on the other side of the pyro guy so he jumps back into that area. Now go to him and then the others will come to the pair of you. Then use Zhongli's burst. Keep doing this, get their health low, then their shields, and when you're ready to beat them you can use some food and potions, and if you can, be careful of the effects they leave on the field after they're beat. For the turtle you get 1 achievement for beating him, another for beating him before he puts his shield up, and another for beating him after he puts his shield up but without you getting hit by his reflected attacks. To make him spawn, just use pyro on the electro crystals around the ring. So for the shield achievement, he has a little icon under his health bar. Every time you hit him, the icon fills up. After hitting him 34 times, he gets a shield. In order to get the achievement for beating him before the shield, you want characters that deal big damage but less times. I found the best strategy is to alternate between a pyro and hydro DPS. I like choosing Arlecchino into your Lan skill as you're seeing on screen. If you do this and you have your Lan on 4-piece emblem and an energy recharge weapon, make sure to swap a build for a crit or HP bow and some skill damage, hydro damage or HP artifact sets. Mualani will work in place of your Lan. Just bear in mind this strategy can take a while. Another tip, having Zhongli and setting up his pillar away from the enemy so it doesn't go towards those 34 hits will still reduce the enemy's resistance. Navia can also deal big damage with his skill, plus the Geo-Resonance increases everyone's damage by 15%, as well as shredding the enemy's Geo-Resistance by 20%. Again, you can use food and potions if you want to, or just co-op with someone at a lower world level. Also, there is a short window where you can use as many attacks as you want just after his icon fills up. As you can see from my gameplay, at world level 9, I needed that window. For the last turtle achievement, you want to beat him after his shield's up but without getting hit by his reflected attacks. Basically, if you're close to him and hit him while his shield's up, he'll counterattack, so you don't want to be close to him. Use a Pyro or Cryo Bow character like Linny, Ganyu, Yoimiya or Amber to break his shield, and then go in and clap his cheeks. You could do exactly what you did for the other achievement, but instead of finishing him off, leave him on a little bit of HP, let him get his shield, then it won't take as long to beat him after the shield is up. A tip for this one is to change the time to night and it'll be easier to see his electro attacks. For this next enemy, you get one achievement for beating them, another for beating them without getting hit by their AoE cryo attack, and another for beating them without letting the spray can explode. This one's pretty easy. Use a shield for extra protection, and when they throw out this cryo attack that creates a cryo field, just make sure you don't get hit by it. A tip that I give for this one is avoid using characters that obscure your vision a lot. For example, I can't see a thing when Kazuha's burst is up, so I didn't bring him. There's no time limit, literally just focus on not getting hit by the cryo attack and you'll beat it. Again, co-op with someone at a lower world level if you're struggling. That's one achievement, then for the other you can't let the can explode. All you gotta do is use Pyro on it before it gets the chance. Bennett's skill is useful for it, but if you're using a Pyro DPS you'll find it even easier. Side note, I recommend not bringing characters that apply Hydro to yourself like Xingqiu and Kokomi. If you do, there's a chance you'll get froze before you have the chance to remove the can. For the Fatui agent, you get one achievement for beating him, another for beating him while he's using his blade throwing attack, and another for beating 3 of his red ghosts before he does the blade attack. Firstly, to unlock the gate, there are 2 keys, one in this cage over here, and another on this rope dangling above. Then you interact with a thing to unlock the gate. For the first special achievement, he has a move where there are a bunch of red ghosts. All of them throw a white blade except one throws a fire blade. Find the one that throws the fire blade and attack it, beat him after he's stunned for the achievement. For the other special achievement, you gotta beat 3 of his ghosts before he does that blade attack. The best way to beat them is by using Hydro, and in this team, I went with Kokomi. Once you beat 3 of them, you can now defeat him at any point because you met the requirement of beating 3 ghosts before he does the blade attack. Simples. For this enemy, I won't even butcher their name. You get an achievement for beating them, another for beating them after breaking all the grapple points to be fall to the floor, and another for beating them while they're in the air. So to destroy the hooks, just bring a Pyro Bow character. Amber will do, and it doesn't matter what level she is. There's going to be 3 hooks, keep aiming and shooting pyro attacks at them and they'll burn. Once all 3 hooks are broken, the enemy's going to fall to the floor. Now you've met the requirement to defeat them at any point during the fight and you'll get the achievement. For the other achievement, you gotta beat them while they're in the air. An easy way to do this is to get their health low. I find with Mono Hydro, I can literally face tank the damage. If I'm struggling, I'll just switch to Farina's healing stance. Once their health's low and we grapple into the air, set everything up and clap them cheeks. This next one's a little cutie patootie, but it hits like you dropped the Jade Chamber on your head. You get an achievement for beating him, another for beating him and not being hit by his dash, and another for beating him after interrupting him from charging his dash 3 times. Basically, he's just going to stand there and shake his ass like his Ice Spice. This is going to charge him up, and once he's fully charged, he'll dash at you dealing big damage. You can interrupt him when he's doing the Ice Spice by hitting him with heavy attacks or by using Overloaded. You could even use both for good measure. For the first achievement, you gotta beat him and not get hit by his dash. I find the best way to do that is by interrupting the charge mode and preventing him from doing it in the first place. Claymore attacks or Overloaded will do. If you're unlucky and he does the attack, you can try and dodge it, but I just find it easier to prevent it. For the second achievement, you have to let him start charging and then interrupt him. Do this 3 times, then beat him and you're all done. For this next enemy, Genshin Impact turns into Wuthering Waves. You get one achievement for beating him, another for breaking his shield in 1 hit, and another for not being hit. So in order to find him, he's hidden behind a wall, so you want to turn into the dinosaur, go underground and then smash the cube. A puzzle will then trigger where you have to do the same thing a few more times, then the wall breaks allowing you to access the fight. The main battle mechanic's like this. You attack him like normal, but he has high resistance. When he attacks you, some of his attacks will glow white. When you see this glow, dodge him within the small window and you'll get a stack. Once you have the stack, you can either hit him dealing a big chunk of damage, or you can let the stacks build and you'll deal even more damage. After his HP hits a certain point, it gets a white shield and you can only break it by using these stacks you get by dodging. Each stack takes away a third of his shield, and once it's down, his resistances fall with it for you to attack him like normal. That's how you beat him. To get the second achievement, you need to break his shield in one go. To do this, you need to get 3 stacks and use them at the same time instead of 1 at a time. Once you've done this and you beat him, you'll get the achievement. For the last one, you need to beat him while not getting hit. He likes to do combos, so my advice is to just dodge one time and then run. So when he's not got his shield up, you can hit him immediately after dodging to stagger him. This stops him from doing the combo, but if you want to play it safe, just dodge and run. Also, for this achievement, there's no need to bring a shield. You're going to fail if you get hit anyway, so just use that slot to bring an extra damage dealer or a support. Just like the last enemy, this one has a puzzle to unlock it too, but you also get a luxurious chest, which is nice. So you head over this way, smash these rocks, collect them if you want to because you can use them for crafting Natlan weapons, then interact with the glowing thing, get the beetles, follow the fart cloud around, same thing. Eventually it goes back to this rock. That's part 1 of the puzzle. Next you go into this house, get the hook and everything else, go out and attach it to the box, turn into the dinosaur so you can pull the box out, then another fart cloud will run towards the rock. For the last one, go over here, collect the hook with the dinosaur, and the last fart cloud will run towards the rock. Now he's going to break, leaving behind a luxurious chest and the entrance to the next fight. You get 1 achievement for defeating the enemy, another for defeating 10 Night Soul Warriors in one wave, then another for not being hit. So this one actually has a really interesting mechanic. Once you've dealt a certain amount of damage, there's a domain expansion. You've now got to beat these Night Soul Warriors. Notice there's a portal over here? You can leave it at any point, but the more enemies you defeat, the more stacks you get for buffs. Only thing is, with each stack you get a lot of bleed, so I advise bringing a few healers. Kokomi on Prototype Amber, let Farina's skill beat the enemies, Jean in the back for more healing, Yolan for ranged attacks, and you'll be good. You need 10 enemies defeated for the achievement and then you can leave the portal. Cause you have a lot of buffs, you'll deal a lot of damage to the enemy now. Once you've beat it, that's the first achievement. For the other achievement, you need to not get hit by the main enemy. You can get hit by the Night Soul Warriors in the domain expansion, but not by the Dendro Wyob. His attacks are quite telegraphed though, so you've got this. This next enemy was surprisingly easy once you learn its mechanics. You get 1 achievement for beating it, another for not having any of your characters die, and another for breaking its shield when it starts to absorb the balls. Basically, the enemy's hydro and it'll shoot hydro balls at you. You want to stand a distance away so they come together, use cryo to freeze them, and then charge attack them back at the enemy. When its shield's down, attack it as you normally would. There's a phase where instead of throwing its balls at you, it starts to suck its own balls. Filthy animal that it is. What you need to do is freeze them and charge attack them towards it as usual to break the shield. If you're struggling for stamina, remember you can use stamina food. If you don't have cryo available because of your cooldowns during this phase, just walk into the balls and they'll explode instead of being sucked up. If at any point it summons a water spout out of the ground, you can freeze it and stand behind it. If not, it's literally going to turn into Nouvelette and demolish you. So that's the mechanics. For 1 achievement, defeat it without dying using the tips I mentioned. For the other achievement, break its shield in that phase where it's sucking its balls. The first few times might be rough, but with practice you'll get it. Kaya's a good free to play choice for freezing. Charlotte and Wriothesley can do it with their normals, which is even better. For the last enemy, you get 1 achievement for beating it, another for parrying all of his power attacks, and another for not taking any damage from his attacks. On your way there, you have to turn into the dinosaur, climb the wall, and don't fall into the lava. I advise bringing a portable waypoint to this one too. Set that up outside the fight, so if you have to leave for any reason, you don't have to do all that over again. For this fight, you turn into the Traveller, and they do take physical damage bonus and attack stats from your Traveller build. Make sure you give them Prototype Rancor, 2-piece Bloodstain and 2-piece Pale Flame if you have them. If not, maybe Strongbox a couple pieces just for the 2-piece effect, and go with Attack Sans, Physical Goblet and Attack Circlet. Also, you can consume physical damage food like Fischl's specialty dish Dai High Leash Symphony, which obviously is Chinese for you've got this. So the skill button is your parry. You can parry their attacks to build up your burst, and when you use your burst, your normal attacks deal more damage. The enemy has 5 different attacks. The one with the squares on the floor where you parry after the blue flash, the wind up and spin one where you parry after the blue flash again, These two are his special attacks, and for one of the achievements you'll have to parry these ones. The rest of the attacks are optional to parry or not. There's the projectile one where you just keep pressing parry rhythmically, the Geo one with a cross on the floor where you parry when the circle closes in on him, and the last one's similar, but instead of a cross it's a rectangle coming at you. You parry that one when the circle closes in on him too. To summarise, for one achievement you only need to parry the attacks with the blue flash, for the other achievement don't get hit. It's awkward at first, but if you do a few practice runs, don't panic and just tell yourself the practice runs, you'll get the hang of it. If you have any questions, drop a comment. I try my best to respond to all of them. Good luck with your achievements, don't forget food and potion buffs, and take it easy.